part of people's lives in a plethora of the entertainment that we consume. It drives people to purchase lottery tickets, and it allows people to gamble on games like craps and poker. But it's also a part of the gaming industry, and to that end, they use it in a lot of the mechanics of their games. Today I brought an artifact with me that is probably the most widespread and simplest way to embody luck, and it is the dice. Every time you roll a dice, it is exemplifying the potential that people have for greatness, but also the ability that life can throw a wrench in the works and disrupt the normal that you're used to. The culture that is inside of the gaming community is one that is unifying and can create and strengthen bonds while still allowing for the people to partake in rivalries and healthy competition. Allowing yourself to be part of this culture adds depth and can add meaning to people's lives and help them define who they are, even if they're simply on the periphery of the group. Every time dice are used, it is for a random association or a random chance. Whether this be who takes their turn, or the loser of a game catching up to every other player even though they thought they had lost. This kind of fluctuation and flexibility in a game allows for competition to be consistent. No one person is assured the win, because the dice can always change that. You can have somebody, the leader can roll 2 ones and fall back into the middle of the pack. Or the person in last can get a streak of good rolls, pulling far in first. This keeps the game very fresh for both old and new players, because as much as you memorize mechanics and figure out how to play as optimally as possible, new players will always have a chance. There will never be a time where somebody just can't ever win. The level playing field that DICE provides allows for the leader to roll 2 ones, and suddenly he's no longer the leader and everybody can jockey for position. Or you're going up against a monster way above your level in a game of Dungeons & Dragons, and you roll a couple of crits. Your team is all of a sudden winning a battle that should never have been won. The same can be true in the opposite. Somebody in the middle of the pack pulls ahead with a couple good rolls, or enemies that you should never have lost to pull out a miraculous win against you. As far as my involvement in the gaming community, I have, from the time I was a very small child, 4 or 5, I have been part of this culture. On my dad's side of the family, we play games every time we meet. We will go to parties and birthdays and even just monthly gatherings with each other, and a board game will come out within the first 10 minutes of the meeting. However, on my mother's side of the family, it's a little different. They are much more cynical about games, and they hold to some of the misconceptions and animosity that board games have had over the past couple decades, believing that board games and any dice rolling can lead to heretical views and to satanic rituals. This is mainly linked to dice being linked to rolling of bones, and it is a very harmful misconception for a culture that is so accessible. However, even with this kind of duality in my family, gaming has been a massive point in my life. Anytime I go into a situation, I always have this history in strategy and allowing for chance to take a role, and knowing that there will always be the possibility for great things or bad things. And what happens will happen, and I will try to make the best of it. gaming is also something you can do from a young age. I started at 4 or 5, and I play today in college, and I will probably most likely play far into the future. In college, it has even helped me communicate with friends from high school, as well as make new friends. I still DM for some of my high school friends in Dungeons and Dragons, and I play strategy games and turn-based games with people I've met in college. The unifying force of gaming culture is so powerful, but it can be turned and misconstrued and weaponized. However, this polarizing factor of it shouldn't be as heavily emphasized as it is, as the unifying and connections it can create are so much more powerful. In my experience, gaming culture has a unique ability to allow for the people with the highest levels of energy and passion to connect with the quieter people who still have that same passion but don't express it in such an open way. And in most fields, you don't get this kind of opportunity for all of your participants. So every time you roll a dice, you are initiating yourself into a diverse and deep culture that will only grow as time passes and gives it opportunity.
Okay.